So picture this, right? You're staring down at your phone screen and you're just watching this tiny digital car spin in circles.
Oh, yeah. The worst feeling.
It really is. The
Yeah.
driver is lost. You're standing outside. It's probably raining because, of course it is. And suddenly you realize you have to do the one thing we all dread nowadays.
You have to make the phone call.
Exactly. You have to call a total stranger. So today we are taking a deep dive into an English learning transcript that is all about exactly this. It's about hailing a taxi.
Right. It features two characters, Aman and Ria.
Yeah, Aman and Ria, and they're just walking through the basic phrases for booking a ride. But look, we aren't here to just do a vocabulary lesson today.
No, not at all.
We're actually reverse engineering this. We're looking at basically how the algorithm has completely rewritten human conversation from the ground up.
It's fascinating because, the transcript we're looking at, it's titled English Mastery Navigating Taxi and Ride Booking Conversations. And at first glance, it really just reads like a standard ESL text. You got Aman and Ria, they exchange pleasantries, they list out the phrases for getting from point A to point B.
Super basic stuff on the surface.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you sort of peel back that instructional layer, what you actually have here is, well, it's a sociological document.
Oh, I like that. A sociological document.
Yeah, because it captures this exact moment in human history where we just, we delegated all the most stressful parts of a daily transaction to a machine.
We really did.
And it leaves the humans to only handle the actual physical mechanics of the pickup.
Right, and that delegation, that's what Aman and Ria establish right out of the gate. Before they even teach a single English word, they justify the whole scenario.
They set the stage.
Yeah. Ria asks Aman when he usually books a taxi, and Aman says, I think he says when I need to travel quickly or when I don't have my own vehicle.
You're right. And Ria validates that immediately. She says, it is convenient and easy.
Yes, and that phrasing is so key. They are framing mobility not as this luxury thing, but as a completely frictionless necessity.
Which is wild because historically, getting a ride from a stranger was the exact opposite of frictionless.
Oh, it was pure friction.
Right. It was this highly localized, highly stressful social contract. Think about it. You had to physically stand on a curb.
Waving your arms like a maniac.
Exactly. Signaling your intent to the world. And then you had to visually assess the vehicle pulling over. Like, is this safe?
Yeah, making that split-second survival judgment.
And then the window rolls down.
Yeah.
And you have to negotiate. You have to tell them your destination, figure out the fare, and basically convince this driver that taking you is worth their time.
It's like, that concept of escrow in real estate?
Oh, sure, where a third party holds the funds.
Right. In the old days of hailing a cab, you had to establish this immediate interpersonal trust with a stranger in 5 seconds. But now, Aman explicitly says in the text, nowadays we use apps to book rides. And Ria drops what I think is the most crucial line of the entire introduction. She says, it shows the price and time.
It shows the price and time. That's huge.
It is. The app acts as an escrow account for trust. The passenger and the driver, they don't actually need to trust each other anymore.
They just have to trust the algorithm.
Exactly. The algorithm is the escrow.
And from a psychological standpoint, that removes a massive amount of cognitive load from the interaction.
Cognitive load? Break that down for us real quick.
Sure. So in behavioral psychology, cognitive load is just the amount of working memory resources you're using at any given time.
Okay.
So haggling over a fare or trying to argue about the fastest route, especially in a second language, that requires massive cognitive effort.
Oh, I bet. Your brain is just working overtime.
Right. So when Ria points out that the app shows the price and time, she's highlighting that the highest stakes variables, the money and the time, those are totally neutralized before the two humans even make eye contact.
But wait, this creates this really fascinating paradox, right? Because if the app removes all that financial negotiation and it removes the navigational arguments...
Why is it still so stressful?
Yes. Why is the moment of the pickup still the most anxiety-inducing part of my day? The anxiety didn't disappear. It just, it concentrated entirely on the spatial coordination.
It did, because, the physical world is messy. GPS is imperfect.
It really is.
The algorithm can calculate your fare down to the exact penny, but it cannot account for, say, a massive delivery truck blocking the exact corner the app told the driver to stop at.
Right, so the app gets confused, the driver gets confused.
And that forces the human beings right back into the equation. which is exactly where the core vocabulary of this source material comes in.
Okay, yeah, let's look at those specific words Aman and Ria provide for this phase. So they start with the basic intent, right? Like, I want to book a ride or I need a taxi.
Foundational stuff.
Yeah, but then the tension really spikes when they move to the confirming details. The phrases they teach next are, where are you? How long will it take? And, are you here?
And you have to notice the linguistic shift happening right there. The language just strips away all the social pleasantries. It reverts to pure pragmatics.
Pragmatics being...
It's the study of how context influences meaning in linguistics.
Yeah.
So when you text a driver, where are you? You aren't making a casual inquiry into their existential well-being.
Right. I don't care how their day is going in that moment.
No, it is a highly charged, entirely functional demand aimed at closing the spatial gap between the two of you.
It's basically a high-stakes game of Marco Polo.
Yes, that is exactly what it is.
Played across like a crowded, noisy intersection. You're standing there, completely exposed to the elements, just ping-ponging location data. I am by the coffee shop.
I am at the red light.
Right. And it feels so urgent.
Because it requires what linguists call the economy of language. When you are under acute stress, your brain ruthlessly sheds complex syntax. It just preserves pure semantic meaning.
It wants to get to the point.
Exactly. If you are learning English, which is the target audience for Aman and Ria's text, the pressure to conjugate a verb perfectly just evaporates when a car is holding up traffic.
Oh, totally. You just need to survive the moment.
And the source material intuitively understands this.
Yeah.
By providing a phrase like, are you here? It functions as a conversational life jacket.
A life jacket, I like that.
Yeah, it bypasses the prefrontal cortex entirely. That's the part of the brain where we worry about grammar rules and sounding smart.
Okay.
And instead, it taps straight to the amygdala, which is our survival center.
Wow. Okay, so you find the car, you survive the Marco Polo game, and you pull the door handle. And that transition, moving from the street to the interior of the car, that is another massive psychological shift.
Huge shift.
And the text maps the vocabulary perfectly to match it. Because once you get in, the door shuts, the city noise gets muted, and suddenly you are in this highly confined space with the exact same stranger you were just yelling at across the street.
Right. The spatial coordination is resolved, and the power dynamics shift immediately.
So Aman and Ria, they introduce a new set of phrases here. For the boarding process, they have, I am coming, and please wait for a minute.
Which makes sense.
But then, during the actual ride, Aman suggests phrases like, please drive carefully, and can you take a faster route? While Ria offers, please drop me here.
So we have officially moved from coordination to direction.
Yes, the passenger is issuing behavioral commands now. But, okay, I have to push back on one of these.
Go for it.
Asking, can you take a faster route? That feels like terrible advice in the modern era. I mean, if I get into a rideshare today and say that to a driver who is already glued to Waze or Google Maps,
It's going to be incredibly awkward.
it's going to create a hostile environment. I'm essentially telling them, hey, ignore the omniscient traffic algorithm that does this for a living and just trust my localized gut feeling instead.
Right.
Is the source material just outdated here? Like, why include that?
I mean, I hear you. It does sound like a linguistic vestigial organ, right? Like a leftover phrase from the era of the traditional taxi driver who had the knowledge of all the secret back alleys and shortcuts.
Exactly, the old cabbie who knew the city better than a computer.
But I would argue that phrase serves a completely different, entirely psychological function today.
Okay, I'm listening.
When a passenger asks, can you take a faster route? In a modern algorithm-driven ride, they usually aren't expecting a physical change in the trajectory of the car.
Then what are they expecting?
They're engaging in anxiety displacement.
Anxiety displacement. So they are just managing their own emotions out loud.
Yes. They are essentially saying, I am stressed about being late, and I need you, the captive human in the front seat, to acknowledge my stress.
Oh, wow. I need you to validate my panic.
Precisely. It is an emotional release valve, and it really highlights that even in a transaction that is totally dictated by math and satellites, we still use spoken language to seek human reassurance.
That makes so much sense, because the driver's response, even if it's just them looking at the screen and saying, well, the GPS says this is the fastest way,
It still validates the passenger's anxiety.
Yeah.
The interaction itself is the point, not the actual route.
Okay, but to make those commands palatable, because you are still giving a command, the text heavily relies on a very specific structural tool.
The word please.
Yes. Every single directive that Aman and Ria teach for the interior of the car includes the word please Please wait. Please drive carefully. Please drop me here.
It acts as a necessary social lubricant.
Right, because you're in a rolling metal box controlled by someone else. You absolutely cannot afford social friction.
Exactly.
Mm.
Please converts what is functionally a demand into a collaborative request.
It softens the whole hierarchy.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the dynamic. You hold the economic power because you are the paying customer,
Mm-hmm.
but the driver holds the physical power.
They are operating the heavy machinery.
Right. So the politeness, it's less about traditional etiquette and much more about just maintaining a stable, non-threatening environment in a very confined space.
Okay, so the text gives us these isolated phrases, but then it transitions into putting them into motion. There's this rapid-fire role play between Aman and Ria.
And this role play is arguably the most radical part of the entire lesson.
Really? Why do you say that?
We'll read the exchange.
Okay, I'll read it exactly as it appears in the text. Ria says, I want to book a taxi. Aman says, where should I pick you up? Ria says, from my home. Aman asks, how long will it take? And Ria says, 10 minutes. And then Aman basically steps out of character, looks at the learner, and explicitly says, keep it simple.
Keep it simple. That instruction is so powerful because it is backed up by the deliberate use of sentence fragments.
Yes.
When Aman asks about the pickup location, Ria does not reply with a complete grammatically sound sentence. She doesn't say, you should pick me up from my home.
Right, she just strips it down. From my home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when asked about the duration, she doesn't say, it'll take 10 minutes. She simply says, 10 minutes.
Which, if you think about it, breaks every single rule you ever learn in a traditional language classroom.
Oh, absolutely. Textbooks demand complete sentences.
Always. Because they are designed to evaluate your understanding of the underlying structural mechanics of the language.
Right. They want to see if you know the grammar.
If you answer 10 minutes on a written exam, you are going to lose points. The teacher can't tell if you know how to conjugate the future tense verb.
But the street doesn't care about your verb conjugation.
The street just wants you to get in the car.
Exactly. The street cares about Grice's maxims.
Oh, Grice's maxims. Remind us what those are.
Specifically, the maxim of quantity, which states you should make your contribution as informative as required, but do not make it more informative than required.
Don't over-explain.
Right. By showcasing these fragments, Aman and Ria are granting the learner a psychological permission slip.
I love that. A permission slip for what? Exactly.
To be imperfect. They are validating that real-world functional fluency looks very, very different from academic fluency.
And that permission slip is the ultimate antidote to analysis paralysis.
Oh, yes.
I mean, anyone who has tried to speak a new language or honestly even just present a complex idea in a high-stakes meeting, you know that feeling of freezing up.
You panic.
You do. You have the vocabulary in your head, but because you are trying to construct this architecturally flawless sentence before opening your mouth.
The moment just passes.
Exactly. You remain silent. So teaching someone to proudly, confidently use a fragment like 10 minutes, it radically lowers the barrier to entry.
In linguistics, this relates to lowering the affective filter.
The affective filter. Okay, break that down.
So when a learner is anxious or afraid of making a mistake, their affective filter goes up. It's like a mental block.
Yeah.
And when it's up, it blocks their ability to process or produce language.
Because the fear is just too loud.
Right. So by prioritizing utility over perfection, this text actively lowers that filter. It teaches the learner that survival in the conversation is the goal, not creating poetry.
Survival over poetry. That is such a good way to frame it. And the source text actually takes another fascinating turn right after this role play.
It does.
It pivots from pure pedagogy into a segment it literally titles A Fun Moment.
The fun moment.
Yeah. Aman breaks the instructional framing and he asks Ria, be honest, do you check price first or book quickly?
And Ria laughs and admits, I checked the price.
And Aman immediately responds, same here.
It is a very calculated pedagogical choice.
You think so? It's not just a throwaway joke.
Definitely not. They are deliberately grounding the lesson in behavioral economics.
Okay, how so?
Well, we discussed earlier how the app removes the anxiety of haggling by locking in the price, right?
Yes, the algorithm escrow.
Right. However, that doesn't mean financial anxiety just disappears. It is simply redirected into the illusion of control.
The illusion of control. Oh, you mean like the frantic toggling between 3 different ride-hailing apps on your phone?
Yes.
While you're standing in the rain, just hoping the algorithmic surge pricing on one of them drops by like 50 cents?
Exactly. When you are toggling between those apps, you are engaging in a modern ritual of simulated agency.
simulated agency because you're not actually negotiating.
No, you are still completely at the mercy of these opaque algorithms that are pricing your trip based on server demand. But by actively comparing two screens, you feel as though you are participating in a negotiation.
You feel like you're winning something, or at least protecting yourself.
Right. And by admitting that they both do this, Aman and Ria completely dismantle that traditional teacher-student hierarchy.
They are stepping down from the podium.
They are admitting a shared vulnerability. It proves that underneath all the grammar rules and vocabulary lists, our daily motivations are universally identical.
We all want to get home, and we all want to feel like we didn't get ripped off in the process.
Exactly. And it builds incredible rapport with the listener. When an educator admits to participating in the same slightly irrational, universally human behaviors as the student, the instructional material becomes instantly more credible.
It stops feeling like a theoretical classroom exercise.
And it becomes grounded in the messy reality of daily life.
And that grounded reality, that sets up the philosophical conclusion of the text beautifully. Aman and Ria, they wrap up this whole lesson not with a grammar review, but with a thesis statement on human communication itself.
What do they say?
Ria says, booking a ride is simple. And Aman finishes her thought. He says, and talking about it improves your English. Practice makes you confident.
Right, practice makes you confident.
And then they deliver the final, ultimate takeaway. You don't need perfect English, just confidence.
To find a statement that basically subverts the very premise of language instruction at the end of a vocabulary lesson, I mean, that is brilliant. You don't need perfect English.
They are acknowledging that the words themselves are merely tools.
Yes, tools to facilitate movement.
Right. Let me offer a metaphor here, actually, because I think the standard idea of, confidence drives the interaction. I think that's a little hollow.
Okay, let's hear it.
Confidence isn't the engine of the car, and vocabulary isn't the fuel. Confidence is the shock absorber.
Ooh, I like that. Expand on that.
Well, think about it. When you are communicating in a high-stress, transactional environment, especially in a language you are still actively mastering, you are going to hit potholes.
It's inevitable.
You are going to use the wrong preposition. You are going to totally mispronounce a street name. You are going to forget the word for trunk or receipt.
Right, your mind will just go blank.
And if you don't have confidence, that pothole totals the car. The whole conversation breaks down, panic sets in, your affective filter skyrockets, and you just freeze.
But if confidence is the shock absorber,
It absorbs the impact of the error. You hit the grammatical pothole, the sentence gets a little bumpy, but the forward momentum of the interaction carries you through. You point, you gesture, you use a fragment like 10 minutes, and the driver understands your intent.
the transaction survives the error.
Exactly, the transaction survives.
And that is exactly why Aman connects confidence directly to practice. Practice makes you confident.
Yeah.
It is essentially linguistic exposure therapy.
Oh, exposure therapy.
Think about it. Every single time you successfully navigate a ride using fragmented, imperfect English, you prove to your nervous system that you can survive the interaction.
You didn't die, you got home.
Right. And that survival reinforces the shock absorber. Perfection, in this context, is actively hostile to progress.
Because the pursuit of perfection prevents the practice from ever happening.
Precisely.
If you wait until your English is absolutely flawless to book a taxi, you'll be standing on that curb forever, just watching the digital car spin in circles until your battery dies.
The entire text is really a testament to functional resilience. I mean, it takes this incredibly mundane, modern action, just getting into a stranger's car, and it unpacks all the layers of trust, spatial negotiation, power dynamics, and vulnerability that are required to pull it off.
And it does so by giving you, the learner, the exact tools needed to survive the friction of the real world. I mean, we've traced the evolution of this simple exchange today.
From the way apps act as our trust escrow,
Right. Neutralizing the need to negotiate the money.
to the realization that spatial coordination is the new frontier of anxiety.
That game of Marco Polo. And we examined how fragments bypass our cognitive filters.
Prioritizing semantic speed over syntactic structure.
And how shared human behaviors like obsessively checking surge pricing bridge the gap between theory and reality.
The ultimate takeaway from Aman and Ria isn't just about learning English.
No, it's a blueprint for engaging with the world. You don't need to be perfect to participate in life.
You really don't.
But as we leave you today, I want to pose a question about the very near future of this specific type of participation.
Okay, what's the question?
Throughout this deep dive, we've explored how technology has systematically removed layers of human interaction from the process of mobility. The algorithm took over the haggling, the route planning, and the payment.
Right, it outsourced all the hard stuff.
Currently, the only thing left for humans to verbally negotiate is the final 20 feet of the pickup, and perhaps a polite request to adjust the air conditioning.
Sure.
But with autonomous, completely self-driving ride shares already operating in cities around the world, the human driver is the very next variable being engineered completely out of the equation.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Think about the phrases we just spent an hour analyzing. Where are you? Please drive carefully. Can you drop me here?
If there was no one in the front seat.
Who are you talking to? Are we rapidly approaching a reality where this entire vocabulary, this intricate dance of politeness, spatial coordination, and shared human vulnerability becomes nothing more than a linguistic fossil?
A historical artifact.
A curious artifact of an era when humans used to awkwardly, bravely navigate the physical world together. It really makes you wonder what new anxieties and what new vocabularies will replace them.
That is a wild thought.
Keep that in mind the next time you tap Confirm Ride and wait for the digital car to arrive.